Ravioli.
Parkour is a term that gets thrown around in video games all of the time. Basically, anytime anyone makes a game that allows you to vault over a ledge or do a wall run, which by the way is physically impossible, the term parkour gets slapped into its branding. As a self-proclaimed semi-pro parkour athlete, I can't help but get frustrated with this, considering a sport I've devoted 11 years of my life to is chalked up to being a fancy word developers use to make their jumping mechanics sound more thought out than they really are. Not to mention, most people still think that parkour is just a meme from The Office.
Parkour!
There are of course a few games that are actually fairly worthy of using parkour as a defining term for their gameplay mechanics, like the Assassin's Creed games for example. But in my opinion, the one and only parkour game that truly has the right to call itself that is Mirror's Edge. Mirror's Edge gave you tons of tight controls that you could use to traverse your environment, much like real-life parkour. For those of you that don't know, parkour by definition is getting from point A to point B as efficiently as possible. Mirror's Edge did exactly that. There were obvious paths to take with the red highlighted objects guiding your way, but if you took the time to look around and find different routes and practice tougher and tighter maneuvers, you could essentially find faster and more efficient ways around the map. Mirror's Edge encompassed pure parkour nearly perfectly. Alright, and now you're probably wondering what the pure parkour is. Let's think of parkour on a scale. On one end of the spectrum there is pure parkour. This is basically the practical and efficient side of things. Pure parkour uses skills that best suit the situation to get through an environment as quickly, smoothly, and efficiently as possible. On the other side of the spectrum is free running. Free running is what muggles tend to see the most, considering it looks way more dangerous, cool, and flashy. Free running is still getting from point A to point B, but doing so as creatively as possible, aka doing cool flips and shit. In reality, no one really sticks to one side or the other. A lot of people explore the spectrum as they train and develop their skills. Hopefully you guys understand a little bit more about parkour now, but unfortunately there's still tons of people that don't understand what it is. And because of stupid people on the internet and people throwing the word around like it's a synonym for jumping, parkour is unfortunately pretty misunderstood. This is parkour. Not this. Okay, enough ranting, let me get to my actual point. If Mirror's Edge, a genuine parkour game, is like pure parkour, then Ghostrunner is like free running. First off, I want to say that Ghostrunner, clearly having mechanics inspired by other parkour branded games like Mirror's Edge, doesn't actually use parkour anywhere in its branding from what I've seen so far, which is incredibly refreshing. They could easily call it a parkour platformer, but instead they simply call it an FPP, a first-person platformer. The overall aesthetic is very nicely done. The animation and design is nice and clean and should tick boxes for anyone that likes cyberpunk style. Ghostrunner has a fairly simple premise. There's this dude talking to you, leading you to break him out of jail. You gotta traverse your environment, take out the bad guys, and free the Whisper Dude from his cell. You get lots of useful mechanics like wall runs, which are the main skill you use, a slide to get under low objects or down slopes quicker, a grapple hook to grapple things obviously, and a dash that you can use to close in a gap between you and an enemy or to reach a ledge that's just a little farther than you anticipated. The dash mechanic is one of the cooler parts of the controls. In mid-air, it'll slow things down, giving you the ability to strafe to either side to avoid enemy attacks, and kind of acts like a double jump if you are a bit too far from a ledge. Speaking of enemy attacks, you get shot one single time and you die, adding a lot of challenge to the game. I actually really liked that you couldn't just tank a hit and keep on going. It made me have to think about what I was doing and pay attention to my surroundings, all while trying to quickly traverse my environment to avoid getting killed or falling to my death. I thought I would get more frustrated dying so easily, but when you actually do die, you can respawn yourself nice and quickly and give it another go. Whenever I first entered a new area, I'd end up dying a few times fairly quickly, but after a bit of trial and error, I quickly learned where all the bad guys were and what the best plan of attack was to take them all out. It also did a really good job of splitting each section of the map up into bite-sized challenges, so when you did fall, it wasn't like you lost a ton of progress. After getting used to the controls and learning enemy placements, Ghostrunner felt really good to play. Everything works nice and smoothly together, there isn't too much going on at once to make it overwhelming, and the control inputs are simple and easy to remember. It took me 15 minutes to beat the demo, and by that point I already had a really solid understanding of how the game works. Also, after you beat the demo, they show you how fast you managed to complete it, so I'm really hoping the full game offers some time trial modes alongside the main story. Even just playing through the demo trying to get my best score was a ton of fun, and it reminded me a lot of doing the time trials in Mirror's Edge. With the demo itself, I have no issues, but I do think there will need to be a bit more variety when it comes to combat and level design in the rest of the game, otherwise it's going to get stale pretty fast. That being said, it sounds like it'll be a pretty cool adventure, as the main game will have you making your way from bottom to top of a futuristic megastructure called called Dharma Tower, and I'm sure the developers have a lot of cool locations in store. Platformers like this rely a lot on good level design, and so far things seem pretty promising. As far as cyberpunk ninja first-person platformers go, Ghostrunner seems to be the real deal, and I can't wait to see more. It's releasing sometime this year on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox One, with a demo for PC available right now for you guys to try out. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think about parkour in video games in the comments below, and I will talk to you next time.